What if the things you want most aren't actually what you need? In fact, what if your struggle, pain, and despair, the very things you're hoping will go away, are the miracle? What if they are messengers bringing you what you could never have obtained otherwise? A friend of mine, Logan, recently sent me a voice note quoting C.S. Lewis. He knew I'd love it, and he was right. I was so moved that I had to share it. In Lewis's book, Letters to Malcolm, chiefly on prayer, he writes, "If God had granted all the silly prayers I've made in my life, where would I be now?" Lewis essentially suggests that perhaps the prayers that aren't answered end up giving us more than the ones that are. Maybe our greatest opportunities come from battling through difficulties, from finding the value in hardship instead of simply wishing it away. This doesn't mean we shouldn't pray. It means we should stop asking for shortcuts or shelter from life's chaos. Instead, we should ask for the wisdom to identify its necessary lessons. Oh, what a beautiful thought! What if we stopped praying for painful circumstances to be taken away and instead asked what we are meant to learn from them? It's not, "Please take the storm away," but rather, "Where can I find a strength I didn't even know I had amidst this storm? Where is the value hidden within this valley of despair I'm navigating?" Part of life is understanding that misfortune is unavoidable. But along with that is the understanding that lives are changed and fortunes are made when we are pushed to our max. When we are tired, lonely, scared, and defeated. These are the things that teach us to gather ourselves and rebuild stronger, just like a muscle breaking down to grow back bigger than before. You can pray to be dropped at the end of a 10-mile run, but how self-defeating is that? The substance is the journey. It's hurting and finding a way to go on. It's doubting whether you can hit your target and then learning to trust yourself. It's running by people relaxing on the beach and knowing that in this moment, you chose to be different. How insane to pray those moments away. They are the miracle. It's like asking to skip the movie and arrive at the credits, to skip the book and wake up when the story is already resolved. Our power is derived from our pain and discomfort. So perhaps when you're going through it, you can remind yourself what it will all come to mean. Just because the value seems invisible through the storm doesn't mean it's not there. We just tend to see it later, in the rearview mirror, when the dark clouds are behind us and we can reflect on the person we've become. The cost of change. My friend and trainer once noticed me slowing down during a run. He looked at me and said, "Eddie, you said you wanted change." Well, this is where change happens. Rise to the occasion. It may not seem like much, but that moment embedded a powerful truth in my brain. It connected the suffering directly to the outcome I so desperately wanted. When you're in it, it's easy to see the pain in a vacuum, to forget why you're even doing it. Why put yourself through this when everyone else is at home watching the game or having a beer? What he did was put what was important front and center. "Oh, Eddie, you can have all those things," he said. "All of them. But this is the cost. Your call." Suddenly, the suffering took on a different shape. "But it hurts," you might say. "Of course it does," he replied. "That's why very few people have what you want. That's why it's rare. It's why it means something." Some things are so simple that we have to look past the excuses and the details to understand them. It's simply, desired result and price tag for that result. It's like trying to open a twist-off bottle with a bottle opener. You're struggling, fighting, and someone laughs and says, "It's a twist-off." That's what rationalizing discomfort is. It's all the nonsense you tell yourself, all the unnecessary mechanisms you create, when the reality is simple. If you want the thing, this is what it costs. Just twist the damn thing off. He said the same thing to me a few days later during a legs workout. "Eddie, you said you wanted change. Here is the change. Let's go." There is beautiful simplicity there. If you don't want the change, no problem. Leave. Go upstairs. Put your feet up. Enjoy. But if you do, here is the price. This principle extends far beyond fitness. The physical struggles are a microcosm for life's greater challenges. When your business is struggling, your mind might say, maybe this isn't for me. But that hell you're going through is the cost of building a successful business. It doesn't mean you're in the wrong arena. It means you're closer than you think. As my trainer said, this is where change happens. Do you want it or not? Maybe you're fighting a different battle altogether. Health, diet, or substance abuse, and you've fallen back on old ways. You look in the mirror, disappointed, wondering how you could have done this. But the reality is, everyone falls. How you see the fall is everything. What you turn the fall into is defining. It can be a reason to crumble or a reason to evolve. The world doesn't care. It just gives you the pieces and invites you to make of them what you will. As was said while I was hiking, the mountain is indifferent. It has no agenda. It just exists. It's up to you to navigate, to become the person who can make the ascent. So, the next time you find yourself in one of those spots where the world feels dark and heavy, ask yourself if you want what's on the other side. Because if you do, that discomfort doesn't mean you're further from glory. It means you are knocking on glory's door. You're paying the premium. You're putting yourself through a battle that most people will not fight. The mountain asks for your next step. There's something humbling about standing at the base of a mountain. You look up, and there it is, indifferent, quiet, and immovable. It's not impressed with your plans, not swayed by your doubts, and certainly not worried about yesterday. Which brings me to the lesson. The mountain doesn't ask for your past. It asks for your next step. Mount Humphreys, the tallest mountain in Arizona, wasn't an endgame. It was a symbol, one step in a larger commitment I made to myself to build a stronger, more durable version of me. Not just physically, but in how I think, lead, and endure. I was wrestling with the bigger question, can I really become that person, the one who does the hard thing every single day? This isn't a small change. It's a death and rebirth. Becoming someone who chooses discomfort over ease means letting go of the person I used to be. And that's no easy task. The past is what we know. It's familiar, even when it's heavy. But the trail didn't care. It just stared back at me with one demand, take the next step. As we continued the ascent, and the air got thinner, an irony became clear. The higher I climbed, the lighter I felt. Every step wasn't just movement, it was a release of all the baggage I never needed. I wasn't chasing a view, I was shedding an identity, creating a new self, like a chisel to stone. When I reached the top, I didn't feel victorious. I felt honest. For the first time in a long time, I was exactly where I was supposed to be, not because the world said so, but because I'd earned it. There was no audience, no celebration, just wind and space and silence. In that silence, I heard it again. The mountain doesn't ask for your past. It asks for your next step. So maybe this isn't really about mountains. Maybe it's about life. It's about evolution. If you're waiting for permission to grow, you'll never get it. If you're clinging to your past for security, you'll never move. But if you let go, if you trust the process, if you take the next step, you'll become someone the old you could never have imagined. You might not be climbing a mountain today, but you're facing one. We all are. It could be the courage to leave a job that no longer fits, to rebuild after heartbreak, or to forgive yourself. Most of life's defining moments aren't loud. They're silent and subtle. They're incredibly easy to avoid, but they're there every day. Whatever your trail is, it will ask you the same thing that mountain asked me. Are you willing? Your past will fight to stay relevant. It will remind you of every failure. It will whisper, you've never followed through before. Why now? But growth isn't about waiting until you feel different. It's about acting different. Until one day you look back and realize you grew into those shoes. So, what's your next step? Not your next 10 years. Just your next step. You don't need to climb the whole mountain today. You just need to move, because motion silences fear. Action builds confidence. The path will reveal who you're becoming. Take the step. Even if your legs shake, even if your heart's pounding. Because life doesn't ask for your past. It asks for your next step. The power of subtraction. One of the most important things to understand is that growth is rarely about getting that magical thing you need. Instead, it's about eliminating the things you don't. It's about less. Imagine yourself as a backpacker climbing a mountain. Growth isn't about filling your bag with more rocks. It's about emptying it, removing everything that doesn't support the ascent, and taking with you only the essentials. There's a story about a woman who loved her garden. She cared for it meticulously, but as the seasons passed, the vines grew wild and the weeds took over. Some plants that once bloomed were now confined and lifeless, but she couldn't remove them. She told herself it was loyalty, but in reality, it was fear in disguise. Her neighbor, seeing her beautiful but crowded space, gently said, "Nothing new can grow in soil that's already spoken for." The woman was initially upset, but then something clicked. That night, she walked through her garden with new eyes and began the painful, sacred process of letting go. She was making room for something new. It's the same idea as a closet. You open it and feel overwhelmed. Clothes from 10 years ago, jeans that no longer fit, jackets you haven't worn but paid too much for. Every time you look for something to wear, you mutter, "I have nothing to wear." But the truth is, you have too much of what no longer fits. You have to make space. You go through everything and ask, does this represent who I am now? Do I want to carry this version of myself into the future? You walk away lighter, not because you lost anything, but because you released what no longer belongs. Letting go is an act of self-respect. We often think growth is about acquiring more friends, more commitments, more achievements. But true growth is often about subtraction. It's about removing the noise and clutter, letting go of the habits and stories that once served us but now hold us back. The question isn't whether something is good or bad. The question is it aligned with who I'm becoming? There's a certain courage in letting go, a quiet strength in choosing space, in trusting that what you clear out will one day be filled with something better. That empty soil or open hanger isn't a loss, it's an invitation. So, what are you holding on to that no longer fits? What emotional weeds are choking out the light in your life? Maybe it's time to weed that garden, to open the closet doors of your mind and say, "This no longer serves me." And not just say it, but act on it. Letting go doesn't mean the past didn't matter. The past was everything. It was your lessons, your path. But there's a saying, what got you here won't get you there. Choosing less means you're no longer living in yesterday. You're not betraying who you were. You're making peace with who you've been so you can become who you're meant to be. When you clear that garden or closet, you're reclaiming space for clarity, creativity, and purpose. And in that space, I promise you, something beautiful will blossom. The sound of silence. Silence is loud. The places I never went, the actions I never took, the things I didn't say still ring in my ears. They don't arrive as regret, but as a reminder that life isn't over. They appear as an invitation to transcend past limitations and step into what can be. Do you remember being a kid in 2nd grade? The teacher asks a question, and you're pretty sure you know the answer, but there's a seed of doubt. You keep your head down. Someone else raises their hand, gives the same answer you were going to give, and the teacher says, "Excellent." The thought replays in your mind, "I was going to say that. I knew that." Then, a shift happens. The other student's response gets quieter, fading into the background. All you can hear now are the jarring, droning echoes of your own nothingness. Your silence screams so loud it penetrates every part of your being. The question was trivial. The response didn't matter. But it was a microcosm of the crossroads we face in life over and over again. Do we act and risk the fall for the chance at the mountaintop? Or do we hesitate and invite a silence so excruciating it cannot be outrun? It's valuable to be reminded that life is finite. None of this is here to stay. It all goes. And so, here's the switch I'm advocating. In hockey, When a team is losing by one late in the game, they often pull the goalie. It's a gamble, but it gives them a chance to score. Who cares about the risk when time is running out? I don't see how life is any different. We're here for a length of time that's a blink of an eye. We are a raindrop in a thunderstorm. Why would you not pull the goalie? Why would you sit in a self-created silence, wondering what life could have been like if only you had given more? You have one opportunity to pour all of yourself into something before something becomes nothing and the march of time leaves you in the rearview. Silence is louder than a swing and a miss. It's louder than a courageous soul who misjudges an approach and smashes into the ground. It's louder than the lessons life graciously hands out to those willing to step into the belly of the beast. Silence is loud. So go scream your truth to the world. Make your mark, not for vanity, but because of the same question. Why not? The statistical likelihood of your existence is almost impossible, yet here you are. And you have the audacity, given this information, to sit in silence. You're delusional, selfish, and wasteful enough not to go, not to try, not to unpack the gift at your feet and make your way into the world. Your silence screams. So go, and leave in your wake a trail of courage that screams louder. Leave behind you a message to the world that you weren't given much time. No, not much time at all. But you were given enough time. Your snapshot in the movie of eternity. Your verse in the great play of life. Your chapter in the book of existence. It will read like the miracle that it is. And no, a miracle isn't about the magnitude of your decisions. It's about walking through those little doors in life that terrify you. It's about saying yes to opportunities that give you knots in your stomach. It's about sharing your voice, delivering your thoughts even when you don't know how they'll be received. It's about walking the path you know in your soul you need to be walking. The silence is deafening, so speak into that void. Make something you can call your own. Chip away at the marble until what's precious remains. Be louder than the dissenting voices. Be louder than the ticking clocks. Be so loud that even if for a brief single moment in time, the world knew you were here,